Hi there YouTube friends, Kalos Arisate, and welcome back to Mom's Greek Kitchen, the channel where I teach you my mom's Greek recipes in her memory. Today we're making my favorite Greek dessert, Galaktobouriko. Yes, I know, it's a mouthful. Galaktobouriko, or as my cousins like to tell their English-speaking friends, Galaktobouriko. So whichever name you want to use, this is a wonderful dessert. It's phyllo, encasing a filling of cream of wheat flavored with orange zest and vanilla, etc. It's a nice rich filling. It's very much the same filling as we use in bugatsa, but that's a different preparation or a different way of putting it together. Galaktobouriko has a syrup poured over top, so it's a much moister dessert, very creamy, usually served cold, but great warm out of the oven as well. It's my favorite. I think it's Dad's favorite. It's a lot of people's favorite. And Mom's is one of the best versions I've ever had. So I'm going to show you how to make it. So let's go into the kitchen and we'll put it together. See you soon. Bye. Alright, we're ready for our first step. So we have our large pot here on the burner. I've got 2 liters, 2 quarts, 8 cups of milk in my pot here. Mom tended to use whole milk, 3% or whatever you have in your area. But you can make it with less fatty milk, but why? It's a dessert. So it's not something to skimp on at this point. So I've got whole milk. I'm going to add 1 cup of cream of wheat or semolina or whatever you want to call it. I'm using the 3-minute or the rapid. Mom in the old days used to use the regular, which took quite a bit longer to cook, and today they have instant, but I'm not sure how that would work in the recipe. Mom switched to the rapid when it first came out, so I know it works. So 1 cup of the cream of wheat, 1 cup of granulated sugar. It's not a lot of sugar in the filling, but remember that this gets a syrup poured over top that soaks in, so that adds a lot more sweetness. I've seen recipes online that use like 3 cups of sugar in this filling. I would imagine that would be killer sweet. And a person who likes sweets like me complaining about sweetness is kind of weird. 1/4 cup of butter, unsalted. Sorry, I forgot my orange zest. 1 large orange, zested. You can use lemon or you can use half and half. Mom always used the zest. And last but not least, 1 dozen eggs. Yes, you heard me, 1 dozen eggs. And a tiny pinch of salt. Alright, so we're just going to bring this up, put it over the heat, and we're going to cook it, stirring occasionally, or actually probably more constantly, until it goes nice and thick. So this is our filling, the main part of the recipe. So the cream of wheat, of course, will thicken. The eggs will thicken. It's flavored with the orange and the butter. And at the end, we'll add in some vanilla. And I'm going to cook this until it's done. I may come and show you halfway through, but I will show you at the end what it looks like. So you don't have to sit and watch me stir for 20 minutes or so. Alright, back soon. Alright, we're back. Oops, let's turn you down a bit. So be careful of the volcanoes because they're hot. So as you can see, we're nice and thick now. It was about 15 minutes, I'm going to say. I cooked it mostly at high, medium high, until the end when it got started popping volcanoes at me, because those are like molten lava when they land on your skin. So we're nice and cooked now. I'm on low. I'm actually going to turn it off. I'm going to add in my vanilla. That's 1 tablespoon or 30 milliliters. And our filling is done. So I'm going to set this aside until I'm ready for it. You can use it hot or room temperature or whatever. It doesn't really matter to the dessert. So it's going to set aside until I do my next steps, and then we'll use it at whatever temperature it's at. Alright, so I'll be back when I'm ready for the next step. Alright, we're back. Our next step is to make our syrup. We want to make the syrup before we want to make our dessert or bake our dessert. Mom has always said that the syrup needs to be cold and the dessert needs to be hot, or the dessert needs to be cold and the syrup needs to be hot. She invariably did the cold syrup and the hot dessert, so that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to do 2 cups of sugar that I sprinkled everywhere, excuse me. I don't want caramel. And 2 cups of water. Classic simple syrup. We're not adding anything else to it. Just sugar and water. We're going to bring it to a boil. We're going to boil it for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to let it sit to the side to cool down while we do the rest of our dessert and bake off our dessert. I'm pretty sure you know how to do this, so I am going to now cut away and we'll be back with the next step. So again, bring it to the boil. Boil for 3, 4, or 5 minutes and then set aside to cool down. Alright, see you soon. Okay, we're back. So here we have our phyllo. It's 1 pound of phyllo. Or 454 grams, I think it is. And it comes frozen, and I thawed it out overnight in my refrigerator. And it's been out on the counter for a bit because I was getting ready. And so there is a trick to opening phyllo. You find the piece here that is doubled, of course, and you're going to pull that out. And if you pull it, you'll normally get a separation. This one has a big separation, but usually it's only a little bit. But if you pick that separation, you'll get right to the middle of your phyllo. This one is actually stacked really weird, but oh well. It's good enough. And there's our phyllo all ready to go. So I'm going to move that out of our way and bring in our pan. Now most phyllo, unless it's the really thick kind, is about 18 sheets per package. So we're going to put 9 on the bottom and 9 on top, or hereabouts, whatever it works out to. I have melted a pound of, whoops, sorry about that. I've got a pound of unsalted butter, and we're going to use a brush. I suggest a natural brush as opposed to a silicone, because the silicone will rip your phyllo unless you're really careful, and I don't want to work that hard. So a liberal layer of butter all the way up the sides and on the bottom, and go a little heavy on this first layer. Alright, and then we're going to take our first sheet of phyllo And we're going to lay it on our buttered pan. And I like to stagger them slightly, so one will go all the way up the side on one side and all the way up on one side on the edge, because it doesn't fit exactly. Then we butter it again. And you want pretty much 90% coverage or more. So phyllo is a, you can call it a cheap puff pastry. The butter in between each layer is exactly the same thing as the, sorry, that's my dog. So the butter in between each phyllo layer is like the butter in between each layer of puff pastry. So this time I'm going to let the phyllo go up on this side and up on this side. So that way you get a nice coverage all the way around. And we're just going to repeat this until the half of the pound of butter, or sorry, pound of phyllo is used up. And then I will be back with the next step to show you what we do then. Alright? Alright, we're back. I've layered my 9 sheets of phyllo with butter, and I'm ready to put my filling in. I've got my oven preheating to 375 degrees. So we're just going to dump in our filling. As kids, Mom would let us stick out the pot. It's really good. This is a great breakfast too if you don't, if you, you know, like sweet things for breakfast. Of course, you're not going to make this much unless you've got a whole crowd coming over. It does keep in the fridge though, so if you want to make a batch and have some every day. And as you can see, it's still steaming, so it's hot, it doesn't matter. We're just going to even it out in here. So this is a lasagna size pan, so it's larger than the normal 9x13. So keep that in mind if you're going to make it yourself. If you put it in a 9x13, it will not fit, it'll be too much. But then again, if you want to eat the extra cream of wheat as breakfast, that's a great way of doing it. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Alright, nice and smooth. So now we're just going to continue with our phyllo and butter. At this point I tend to turn my phyllo over because the outside or the phyllo that was on the outside is probably going to be cracked or whatever, and you want the nicer phyllo to show. So I'm going to take the one that was on the outside, put it on top. This was actually pretty good. And we're going to butter it again. We're going to butter the edges. And now we're going to carefully turn them in. And we're going to try and get the ones that were on the edge of the bottom layer to lean into the middle so that we can cover them with the top layers so we make a nice presentation on the edge. You don't have to do this step. It'll still taste great, and it just will look a little rough on the edge. That's okay. There we are. Okay, we're going to butter that. And then we're going to continue with our phyllo. Now, the upper layers you are going to need to fold because they are bigger and we want a nice smooth top. So we're going to put it so that it is even with one side and one edge. We're going to brush it along the overhang side, and then we're going to fold in the overhangs. Okay, and then we're going to cover it again. And then the next one will be the opposite. So we had it attached to those two edges. We're not going to have it so it's even with these two edges. And again, we're going to butter that side. We're going to fold it in. Oops. And butter it again. And we're going to continue alternating like that so that we don't have a buildup of crust on one side, phyllo. And I will be back when I'm doing the last two phyllo. Alright, back soon. Alright, I forgot to turn my camera on. So I missed the last two steps. Basically, I was just being a little anal and making sure that it's nicely edged. You put the second to last layer on, just like we did the other ones, and then you're going to edge it with your brush so it's nice and tucked down. So you put it between the pan and the dessert. The last layer you put on flat, you butter it well, and then with a small sharp knife you cut around the edge so that the top sheet is one sheet with no folds. And then you tuck it down again. That's the only, I just wanted to show you how to make it really pretty on top. Mom didn't really care that much, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so whatever you want to do. The next step is to cut it before it goes in the oven. So we're going to actually cut through the top layer of phyllo, and that allows the steam from the dessert when it's cooking to escape and allows the phyllo layers to actually separate so they get nice and crispy. So you're gonna cut every, I'm not sure, about 1.5 inches or so. You want a serrated knife for this, sharp, and you're just going to cut through. I mean, I can go all the way to the bottom, but there's no use cutting the bottom crust. You just want to cut the top crust. So I'm going to cut what, about 2 inches or so, I guess, and you just want to go straight down. That keeps the phyllo from ripping. Wipe your knife in between. Try to get them all pretty even. You can use a ruler if you want, but it won't show really when it's finished baking. As long as you're close. Two more, yeah. And this will help you in portioning it later as well. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 7 on mine. You can go a little narrower, but I think that's pretty standard for Mom. And now we're going to just sprinkle some water on top. I should have actually put the water on before I cut it, but anyway, just a little bit, maybe a tablespoon or so. And then we're going to stick it in our 375-degree oven until it goes nice and golden brown. Like everything is pretty much, well, the phyllo isn't cooked, but the filling is cooked. So all we have to do is make the phyllo nice and crispy. So whatever that length of time is, it's about, I'm going to guess, about half an hour. Wipe off the extra butter and everything so your oven doesn't stink with drips and stuff. Alright, so there it is, just before it goes in the oven. My oven isn't quite ready yet, but I will be back to show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Alright, we're back, and there's our beauty out of the oven. It just came out. You can still hear it sizzling if you listen closely. So now I'm going to add the cold syrup. It's room temperature, and you'll definitely hear it sizzling. Pour it in slowly at first, because you have to cool off your pan, otherwise it will boil over. And that's all 2 cups of syrup mixture. And that's basically our dessert done. We're now going to wait until it cools to, well, you can cut it when it's just above room temperature, slightly warm, or room temperature, or my favorite, cold, from the refrigerator. The crust is now very crispy, but of course the longer it sits, the soggier it will get, or less crisp anyway. And when it's out of the fridge, of course, it will be not soft, but it won't be as crisp as it is now. I prefer the crust on the bottom, so I usually, if I'm making this for myself or like, you know, just for family, I would make the bottom crust slightly thicker and a little bit less on top, but you make it the way you like. I will be back when it's at cutting temperature, and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. So I'll see you then. Alright, we are back, and here is our finished Galaktoboureko. It's room temperature, maybe slightly warm. Mom always served Galaktoboureko in diamonds. So I will do the same. You get pieces at the end that of course aren't diamonds. So you want to cut all the way through to the bottom. You want to get through the phyllo. And I'll get out a centerpiece just so you see what it looks like. So Mom would cut like this, and then like this, all the way down. So you get pieces with the crust on the end, but you get the centerpieces there. Let me pull some of these out here. First one's always the hardest, of course. Alright, here's our nice centerpiece. If I cut all the way through, oops. Still a little warm, so it's a little soft. Missed a corner. But this is what our finished piece looks like. So you can see a nice thick layer of the filling. We still have a bit crispy on top, but of course with the syrup it's not going to be crispy. And then we have my favorite piece, which is the crust on the bottom. Now, I'm on a diet, so I can't have this, but my honey is here, and he loves this, so he's going to taste it for us. This is going to be his piece, and he's going to give us his opinion. Here you go, my love. Yes, you can come here.
I can cut it myself.
Okay. So this is my honey, my husband, Sandy. You can't see him. He doesn't want to be on camera.
Yeah, I haven't done my hair, so this is one of my favorite desserts, so I'm very happy to have this one. It's like a warm hug wrapping around you.
Did I do a good job?
Yep, that's
right.
excellent. Thank
All
you.
right. You can go. Thank you. All right, so that's our Galaktoboureko. Like I said, it's great at this temperature. It's great a little slightly warmer. I think this is, it's actually warm. This is sort of where some of the family likes it, at this temperature. I like it out of the fridge, and so did Dad. But it's great. I hope you try it. It's not a difficult recipe. It's just a little futzy with the phyllo, but it's next time I'll show you the bugatsa, which is a version of this without the syrup, and more like a little parcel, like sort of a shape like that, but I'll show you that another time. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. Let your friends know, share the channel, and I will see you next time with another recipe. Take care and have a good day. Bye bye.